Hey guys, welcome to another new episode of R&D Garage. I want to welcome all my new subscribers and everybody that's subscribed to me in the past. Thank you for joining me on my car journey. So today we are doing part 2 of getting the hatchie ready for race season. And okay, so a lot of the list I have to do kind of depends on parts not quite being here yet, such as checking the coolant. We still need the hoses. We still need a couple tools, Honda Bond for some of the rest of it. But I'm going to give you a hint of what to expect when you drive up to a track. And also, I believe we are going to be checking out the suspension today. So we're going to go with that. So let's get started. When you first pull up to the track, depending on what kind of racing you're doing, you're going to have to pass a tech inspection. Now, this is not as scary as it seems, and as they get to know you at the track, it'll go faster and faster, which is awesome. So here are some of the things they look for. The first thing they want to see is that your battery tray and your battery is completely immovable. You know, it's securely held down, you've got a cover over your positive terminal, and nothing is going anywhere. So don't skimp on this, go ahead and make sure it's completely foolproof, basically. After that, when you first open up your hood, they're gonna check and see if you have a bunch of zip ties, baling wire, anything that's potentially holding your motor in place. And trust me, everybody has seen this. Everybody knows that one person who decides that baling wire is the way to go. Trust me, it's not. So if it looks like kind of a cluster under here, that's going to get the tech guys thinking, I wonder what else that they've skimped on and isn't quite right. So definitely be sure to a couple zip ties are fine, but just kind of get it all in order, you know, kind of spend a little extra time, a little extra money, and kind of tie down things right. So that's another thing they definitely check for. So again, be careful with the zip ties and baling wire because they're not really wanted at the track. Okay, now also the thing they're going to check for, always have an overflow bottle for your radiator. That is definitely something they check for as well. And make sure all your fluids are topped off, that there's no like messes underneath here. Everybody knows that Hondas weep a little oil. And so they want to check and make sure that you don't have a lot of liquids going on under here, like stains. Stains, maybe open puddles. I mean, you know, it's like raining under your hood here. But just make sure you kind of clean up everything and it doesn't give them an extra second to be like, okay, let's go check this thing out further. So, okay, we've got our fluids, we've got everything under the hood. So another thing, okay, tires. So a couple things about tires. Coming to the track with drags, hey, that's fine, drag radials, but they don't want to see any evidence of cords, the cording on your tires, you know, when they get used up. That is an instant ejection from the track. So be careful of that. If they see you're missing a couple lug nuts or even one lug nut, you're out of there. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it for now. Just, you know, like I said, the first time you go through a tech, if it's your first time, like, ever going through tech, don't get too nervous because they're there to make sure you're going to have a good time and they want you to be safe. Oh, also, of course, the hood. If you have some sort of carbon fiber hood or anything like that, sometimes different tracks will have you put in hood pins. So basically, it's always a good idea of thumb to kind of go through the rule book of every track. And it doesn't take too long. Most times they have it on the site, actually, what kind of rules they expect you to follow. Maybe you need a helmet at a certain ET, all those kind of things. So I hope this kind of helps. Okay guys, before I start with the interior of the car, of what it should be like, I just want to say that I'm not trying to do this like we're checking off boxes getting ready to race. The reason why they have all these rules is they really just want you guys to be safe and you want to keep each other safe as well. So that's kind of where we're coming through with this because we just want you guys to have a blast. Like, I know this season's going to be a blast. Okay, going into the interior. So the first thing they look for, we're also still talking about the tech, is basically they want a firmly mounted seat. They don't want you falling off or the seat falling backward, what have you. Make sure you have seat belts, whether it be harness or regular OEM seat belts, that's fine. Make sure your windshield is clean, and I want to say free of cracks. I know that some tracks have a problem even with just like a little tiny crack in it, especially road course. So you may want to get either a new windshield or have the star fixed or whatever you have. So that's something to watch out for. Another thing is be careful when you're racing that you don't have a lot of loose stuff in your car, because the last thing you want is maybe you're taking a corner super fast or whatever, and then maybe a box comes out of nowhere and hits you in the head. I just kind of pulled that out of whatever. But anyway, so it's always important to keep super safe. Another thing at the track, depending on what you're doing, always inspect your equipment. Now, I'm not just talking about cars, but some tracks require the full-on fire suits, helmets, gloves, shoes, and all of those have a particular expiration date. So again, always make sure you're up to date, because that's a good way to get ejected from the track. And following that, be careful about how loud your exhaust is. Now, I know we can be super loud at the track I go to just because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and I'm sure Buttonwillow is pretty much the same. Again, it's in the middle of nowhere. But there's other tracks where if the dB of your exhaust is a little bit too high, you're gonna get ejected. Only because, I hate to say it, but it'll probably bother the neighbors, maybe make them lose their license, you know, that kind of thing. So again, you don't want to be that person who gets ejected for just a loud exhaust. And I think that is about it as far as the interior and equipment. Okay, so a lot of what I talked about kind of pertains to bracket racing. When you decide to take maybe performance driving classes or get a little bit more into road racing, it's kind of a whole other story. When I first started taking performance driving classes in this, and I'm about to take my second, which I'm super excited about, I kind of got the side eye when I brought this car. Because first when you enter, you have to go ahead and basically lay out your car, all it's got. Maybe not like all the modified parts, but the number one thing they want to know is your car new enough so that it has at least a driver's side airbag? Super important. And it's kind of the main reason why I didn't swap out my steering wheel for a non-airbag steering wheel. You know, safety always comes first in their mind, which correctly. The sport these days is pretty much run by insurance companies, and yeah, you basically sign away your life when you first get there, but if something happens on the track, they're still kind of liable for you. So as far as airbags, you know, they want to make sure that you have one. And if you're heavily modified, they will, that tech for road racing is a lot more intensive than it is for bracket racing. Because for road course, they want to make sure that your car is as safe as possible. They want to know that you didn't cut corners, and they don't want you possibly grenading something on track. They don't want you hitting other people. Obviously, they don't want people hitting you as well. But the more modified and older your car is, the more they're going to take their time and really inspect everything. And so yeah, don't try to sneak anything over their heads. It may have that little tiny thrill of, woohoo, I got away with something. But again, if something happens and you end up leaving the track for whatever reason, you know, into the dirt or something happens, they're going to know and you're going to be gone. Okay, one final thought, and then I promise we're moving on to the suspension. So, like all year round, I look forward to seeing the crew at Sonoma Raceway, because to me, it's almost like a second family. I love seeing the crew. I love seeing my fellow gear jammers. I love seeing my favorite two chicks who helped their dad out with their Camaro. Hey guys. And I wanted to kind of reiterate how important their jobs are, the crew. Now I'm talking solely about the crew. A lot of people are there, well, I'd say most everybody is there to have a good time, and they want you to have a good time. To do that, there's always going to be rules. Come on, guys, since kindergarten, we've been used to following the rules. And what you don't want to do when you get there is basically be a goofball, do a burnout anywhere other than in the burnout pit before your race. If you're not paying attention to anything but your phone and you're in line to go, they don't really like that, you know? They're working their butts off to make sure that you have the best experience ever. And you know, common courtesy goes a long way. I love, well, I was going to say I love talking to them like beforehand, not while they're working because they're being super attentive and paying attention to everything. But even a quick wave or a wink, something like that, I feel like it goes a long way. And it just kind of shows your appreciation for them because you guys make sure we have a blast, that we're safe, and everything runs smoothly. Okay guys, let's talk suspension. So I don't know if I've actually showed you guys this method of mine before, but I'm gonna show you now. So let's say you're working on a project involving either suspension or you're working on the whole motor as a general, just all day, you know, you've been busy, and then at the end of the day, you're like, I wonder if I torqued all my bolts. Yeah, I probably did, it'll be okay. Yeah, no, let's not do that. So my kind of idea, what I like to do, is every time you torque a bolt, go ahead and mark it with a Sharpie, some nail polish, anything that you have handy, a little bit of paint, and just do it on the bolt and maybe the washer. And so that way you know for sure your bolt is torqued down and that you didn't skip it. So I realized that some bolts, the car needs to be on the ground to be torqued correctly. So obviously you can save some of the bolts for that. After this is all done and you've marked all your bolts, go ahead, drive the car for a little bit, beat on it, take it down the street and back. And then when you get back, that's another good way to make sure that everything's been shaken down, everything is safe, and you can go ahead and mark again, but this time you could pretty much right on the body of the car. You know, nobody's really gonna check except you. So like here it's on the body, here it's on a little bit more of the aluminum, and it's kind of a nice, easy way, a way to reassure yourself that yes, I have torqued down all my bolts, they're still being super safe, and I know I got everything done. Okay guys, so I'm just gonna talk about a couple more things here, and hopefully, well, I know the next video I'll actually be getting my hands dirty again. So a couple more things to watch out for. Check your air filter. If it's dirty, replace it. If your plugs haven't been changed in a really long time, or even if you've raced your car hard from last year, go ahead and change those out too. I'm gonna be doing my plugs soon as well, so I'll show you guys that. Even though I think we've actually done a video like that, but I'll just show you guys anyway, because it's fun. Yeah, I'm weird. Okay, so we've got air filter, we've got plugs. Again, I just got a new set of drag radials, and so even though I've torqued them and driven on them, first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and re-torque after the car is down, just to make sure they're in perfect running order. We're also going to be doing another bleeding of the brakes on this as soon as I get the brake fluid in. It's always a good idea to do a complete flush, because the last thing you want is to get into your car, press the brake pedal, especially if you're doing road course, something like that, and nothing happens. Because trust me, there are a lot of expensive cars on that track, and they don't want your teeny tiny Civic plowing into the back because you didn't take the time to check your brakes. So, just saying. But above all, again, the name of the game is to have fun, to learn. Everybody out there wants you to have a good time. And I know I keep saying that, but from my experience, you're gonna get a lot of advice. A lot of it is good, a lot of it don't pay attention to, and you'll learn throughout the season what to pay attention to and what not to. And yeah, again, don't be afraid to go out and try. Even if it's just once, I guarantee you guys are gonna love it. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it just like that. So if you're anything like me, if you've been watching a lot of drag racing shows, a lot of street racing shows, you know, Outlaws, whatever, you know that when a car brakes right at the line, most of the time it's pretty much electronic. So I've been fussing with this car. This kind of pertains to this car alone right now. There used to be a lot of wiring under the dash. Now, a lot of it was from us, a lot of it was from people we trusted who owned the car before, but there's a lot of fingers in that pie because we had, you know, obviously the wideband, we had an alarm, we had all different things that all needed its own separate wiring. And now we were basically paying the price. And so I've been going through, Dee's been going through, wiring is like my least favorite thing. Well, trannies are kind of my least favorite thing now, but wiring is definitely a close second. And so to go through and do that, I know it sucks, but if you have the same kind of older car, and let's say a lot of people have been in it before and a lot of people you maybe don't know, this car, I mean, you guys know it's been in our circle of friends for like a very long time. But if you bought your car from someone, you're like the 6th owner, it's always a good idea because those little gremlins, you know, who handle the electronics, pretty soon your turn will come and it's gonna suck if you're actually at the track when it happens. Well guys, thank you for watching part 2 of prepping the hatch for race season. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching this R&D garage video. I love making them so much for you, and the next video, we should have all the parts here necessary for bleeding the brakes, checking the coolant, doing everything. So my hands will be getting dirty again, I promise. Until then, have a great rest of your week.